Howdy, y'all. This is Proverbs 21 in the NIRV for October 21, 2023. In the Lord's hand, the king's heart is like a stream of water. The Lord directs it towards all those who please him. A person might think their own ways are right, but the Lord knows what they are thinking. Do what is right and fair. The Lord accepts that more than sacrifices. The proud eyes and hearts of sinful people are like a field not plowed. Those things produce nothing good. The plans of people who work hard succeed. You can be just as sure that those in a hurry will become poor. A fortune made by people who tell lies amounts to nothing and leads to death. The harmful things that evil people do will drag them away. They refuse to do what is right. The path of those who are guilty is crooked, but the conduct of those who are not guilty is honest. It's better to live on a corner of a roof than to share a house with a nagging wife. Sinful people long to do evil. They don't show their neighbors any mercy. When you punish someone who makes fun of others, childish people get wise. By paying attention to wise people, the childish get knowledge. The blameless knows where sinners live, and he destroys them. Whoever refuses to listen to the cries of poor people will also cry out and not be answered. A secret gift calms down anger. A hidden favor softens great anger. When you do what is fair, you make godly people glad, but you terrify those that do what is evil. Whoever leaves the path of understanding ends up with those who are dead. Anyone who loves pleasure will become poor. Anyone who loves wine and olive oil will never be rich. Evil people become the payment for settling godly people free. Evil people become the payment for setting godly people free. Those who aren't faithful are the payment for honest people. It's better to live in a desert than to live with a nagging wife who loves to argue. Wise people store up the best food and olive oil, but foolish people eat up everything they have. Anyone who wants to be godly and loving finds life, success, and honor. A wise person can attack a strong city. They can pull down the place of safety its people trust in. Those who are careful about what they say keep themselves out of trouble. A proud person is called a mocker. He thinks much too highly of himself. Some people will die while they are still hungry. That's because their hands refuse to work. All day long they hunger for more, but godly people give without holding back. God hates sacrifices that are brought by evil people. He hates it even more when they bring them for the wrong reason. Witnesses who aren't honest will die, but anyone who listens carefully will be a successful witness. Sinful people try to look as if they were bold, but honest people think about how they live. No wisdom, wise saying, or plan can succeed against the Lord. You can prepare a horse for the day of battle, but the power to win comes from the Lord. So, it's raining. I didn't think it was supposed to rain today, but I'm about to deliver in the rain again. Oh my gosh. I'm beat. I can't seem to recover. The Lord directs the people in power, right? So they might be evil. They might not be evil. But either way, the Lord can affect what they do and how they feel. We see this in the story of Exodus with Pharaoh, most famously, I would say. But, I mean, even with let's just say our current administration, withholding pronouncements of judgment on them, the Lord can do with them what he wills. So we need to be praying for our leaders. Even if it seems unpleasant and seems counterintuitive to the person. We might think our own ways are right, but the Lord knows what we're thinking. We can make up our own rules, code of conduct, all these things. But at the end of the day, the Lord sees through it all and sees through your motives. Regardless of what you say, what you make sure to do that people see, kind of how you're known, your reputation. The Lord knows the truth within you and your thoughts. So this little verse right here, 21:3, do what is right and fair. The Lord accepts that more than sacrifices. I touched on this several chapters ago, and I feel like I skipped over the point I was trying to make. The patriarchs weren't Jews. They didn't have Judaism. So how did they go to heaven? Are they in heaven, right? Before Moses, they didn't have the Mosaic law. But what they did have is various rulers' codes, right? And so this ability that we have within us to know what is right and fair and choose to do that, or choose to look out for ourselves, I think is at the core of the question of what happens to people that have never heard the gospel, right? Jesus said something to this effect about basically once you hear the gospel, you can't be no longer responsible for it. It's over. Like, you choose to accept it or you don't. You've now heard the truth. And you can choose to hide your eyes or you can choose to embrace it. But you can't unsee it, right? You can't unhear it. However, what happens to all the millions of people that have gone to the grave before Jesus got here? What happens to the people that were not within Israel as the people group, right? Not the place. How could a just God send all those people to hell? Well, we see that if you're doing what is right and fair, the Lord accepts that more than sacrifices, which the sacrifices became a large part of the culture for atonement and redemption, right? And then again, down here, we see that people that make the sacrifices but do it like with the wrong motive or for the wrong reasons, that's an abomination to God. So we can't just say it was the act of completing sacrifices that was the good thing. It was about an interior attitude, thought process, right? I don't proclaim to know the answers to this. I am not a universalist, right? In that I think everybody will go to heaven eventually. I don't think so. But I do think that the Lord is just, fair, sees to our interior, and can make the decisions that we can't make. We can't decide what's just and fair and who meets the standard and who doesn't. I feel like this is still an incomplete thought, but I wanted to give more background on what I meant about, like, the patriarchs. Are the patriarchs in heaven? How did that work? The place where people went, paradise, was called Abraham's bosom, or referred to as that. All right. Well, I'm all fired up instead of making my way down the verses. I was just listening to David Jeremiah, whom I love listening to preach. But he said something about the two witnesses in Revelation with some surety, and said, we don't have time to go into it right now. But that it's Moses and Elijah that are the two witnesses. What? No, I disagree with that. It's appointed for man to die once, right? Everybody gets to die a final death. Exodus, Moses dies. Actually, that might be, yeah, it is. It's the end of Exodus, not the start of Joshua, right? Moses dies. He goes up the mountain, and the Lord himself buries him. Right? He died. Elijah went up in a chariot of fire. Enoch walked with God and was not. David Jeremiah, how are you going to tell me that it's not Elijah and Enoch, or Enoch and Elijah? Because Enoch came first. Now I got to go look for this sermon. I might even make a short on this and try to tag him, just so I can get some traction on this and get learned. Because this is something I've always accepted. It makes sense internally. How could Moses come back from the dead and do this? I gotta ask. So if you're proud and sinful, your heart is like a field that's not plowed. Nothing good is coming from it. I feel like we're in an age where everybody has just accepted, like, ooh, God is part of us. We are all pieces of the divine. And it's like Satan loves to give you a truth and twist it. Yeah, we're pieces of the divine. Yeah, the Spirit of the Lord resides in us. But you're God? No, you're not God, homie. If you were God, you'd be able to pay your bills on time. I don't want to get myself riled up on that front and pass judgment on people. That's not good. Because Lord knows I have plenty of problems. But I also don't think I have all the answers inside of myself, right? Which is why I'm constantly seeking outside of myself. A fortune made by people who tell lies amounts to nothing and leads to death. They might have a comfy life for the 80 years or so that we're all here, but it's just a blip in forever, right? One of the greatest guy movies ever, right? Gladiator. What we do here echoes in eternity. It's facts. Facts, though. It's just so much on guilty and wicked people, and I get it. We're teaching our kids, just like I'm teaching my kids, to do what is right, so we tell them what is wrong and what to avoid. But I'm to a point in the study where it's like I want to focus on the edification from it. I shouldn't be condemned by this. I'm not a foolish person. I'm seeking the Lord. I'm fearing the Lord, right? So I need to be aware of what the crooked and the wicked people do and what the book says here, but let's focus on what's right so we can get a little better, right? Twice in this chapter, it talks about those nagging wives. You said, it's just funny that. Here's a hot take. Maybe you earned it. Maybe you chose poorly. Maybe you put up with things in the relationship before you were married that now it's the standard. You can't fix people. You can't make them be better. But you can certainly let them see your example. And often that will at least get the gears going, right? On like, oh, hey, maybe I should up my game too. Maybe I should get a little better also. Must be about that time. When you punish somebody that makes fun of others, childish people get wise. We definitely don't do that. In the age of reels and shorts and stuff like that, we want to see the gotchas and the mocking's the wrong word, but making fun of people or showing their failures and stuff, right? A secret gift calms down anger. A hidden favor softens great anger. This isn't the same as a bribe here, but it certainly is like a peacemaking operation, right? Bribes, wrong. Trying to soften anger by doing stuff for people, giving them the things they want, maybe that's not wrong. You know, it doesn't sound wrong in this context. It's about like reversing a verdict or getting something that you don't deserve. Hey, call me innocent and I'll give you this thing, right? Versus, hey, I'm sorry, let me do this for you to make it up to you. Anyone who leaves the path of understanding ends up with those who are dead. Woo, just heard a David Jeremiah sermon, same sermon, on Revelation and the mark of the beast. And it was basically like, once you take it, your fate is sealed. So do not take it. So do not leave the path of understanding. If you've heard don't take the mark of the beast, you better not take it. Wise people store up the best food and olive oil, right? So it's not like, ooh, we don't eat those things, but we don't use up all of our resources. We build up our time, talent, and treasure so that we have an abundance to give to people, to host people, to feed people, right? Several of these verses talk about, like, the people that don't want to work and how they'll die hungry. Well, I may not be making a lot of money. Certainly I'm hungry, but not starving. I don't love the money, but I certainly need access to the tool of money to get to the next place in my life. I don't know another way to put that. I am trying to do what it says. Work diligently. I put this in my phone so that I can read it, right? I want to put it on my mirror. Well, first, sinful people try to look as if they were bold, but honest people think about how they live. If you're self-examining, I once heard it said, like, if you're worried if you're a bad person, you're not a bad person, because bad people don't even consider if they're bad people. Does that make sense? That's not to say you're a good person, but at least you're neutral and working on it, right? This, though, no wisdom, wise saying, or plan can succeed against the Lord. That's it. Nothing you ever heard, will heard, or could come up with will succeed against the Lord. Can't fight against truth. You can prepare a horse for the day of battle, but the power to win comes from the Lord. This is related to the working, right? And the being diligent. Is all I can do is make myself ready and do the things that I'm supposed to do. The Lord will see to it that I end up where I need to go, that things happen the way that they need to happen. I think I might have missed my entry point. Let me check in. Go do this. As always, go with God. Be blessed. If you have something to say on the Moses, Elijah, Enoch thing, hit me up. Somebody hit me up. I want to know that other people are grappling with the word like I am. I know people are watching this. I don't know how much because I don't really look at my analytics because I'm going to do this regardless. But if you get all the way to this point, how about leave me a like? Go with God. Be blessed.